Today, I interviewed an AI founder whose niche is in networking,
AI literacy course that we have with a lot of AI and tech founders.
who also interns at a private equity firm.
When I got the internship there as a high schooler, it really opened my eyes and I kind of just fell in love with private equity.
And of course, he interns at a private equity firm. So I just had to ask, how does AI relate to private equity?
How much of an influence do you think private equity has had total in the AI space?
My name's Rohaan Charania, and welcome to the AI Founder Series.
Hey Rohaan, man, nice to meet you. Nice to finally have you on.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, man. I really appreciate it.
Nah, of course, bro. So I've got to ask, right? You're the founder of NetworkPro. Can you real quickly explain that to me?
Yeah, absolutely. So, honestly, NetworkPro kind of came from my own experience of trying to find an internship, right? And so I'll tell you a little, quick little context behind it. My school has something called Jan Term, and essentially what it is, it's when you come back from Christmas break, you have the option to get an internship for three weeks. And so I reached out to my mentors and some of my friends who are working at companies like JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, what you would consider to be a large institution or a large company. And it's so funny. All of them were super eager to help, obviously, but the response from them was almost exactly the same for every company. And it was like, hey, man, we'd love to have you, but due to the size and caliber of our company, of our institution, we just can't legally and like infrastructure wise give you an internship, give a high schooler an internship. And that's when it kind of occurred to me, like, there's a gap between high schoolers and large institutions, right? And that's where NetworkPro comes in. We partner directly with these large institutions to offer curated career exposure opportunities for high schoolers, right? So you don't have to wait till college to spend a day inside of for example, a $500 million private equity firm. You can do it in high school like that. And so that's pretty much why NetworkPro exists. It's to give high schoolers an edge and give students an edge in this, competitive career field that we currently have. So.
Nah, man, I absolutely love that because, like, I'd say the opportunities nowadays are no longer, of course, they're obviously merit-based and like credibility-based, but
Yeah.
nowadays it's a lot more on who do you know who can vouch for you and say like, oh yeah, this person's good, they know what they're doing, or I met this person. I mean, dude, I met you on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
That's how
Exactly.
we're able to meet today. So I think that type of experience is very valuable, or that type of product is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. This is the AI Founder Series. So how is AI involved in NetworkPro?
Yeah. Great question. So AI played a pivotal role, and I know you've heard about this previously, but vibe coding is a big thing. And so I almost completely vibe coded the website, and that was super cool. I mean, when I used a vibe coding platform, and when I was first introduced to it, it was like a light bulb moment because I was like, you're telling me I can prompt an AI and it'll build me a website. So it was a really cool thing to experience. And AI has played a big role in that part. Even as far as what we're sort of implementing in the future, I mean, we're doing a lot. I mean, career learning essentially needs to adapt with what's going on in the world. And so we have one of the big aspects of NetworkPro is industry access. And essentially we interview and have clips of entrepreneurs and business people about how they're adapting. And a big part of something that we have coming out is a big AI literacy course that we have with a lot of AI and tech founders. And, that's something I'm super excited about because quite honestly, like that AI is going to be an essential part of the future, especially in business. And being able to not only understand it, but being able to understand how to utilize it in certain types of business is going to be extremely important. And so we're utilizing it in that sense. And then even in the shadow days, we have our second shadow day tomorrow with Woodvale. And one thing they're going to talk about a little bit is how they're utilizing AI in commercial real estate and private equity, right? You have thousands of investors on a portal. How can you make AI a more efficient use of doing investor outreach, things like that? And honestly, just, informing kids about the future of AI and teaching them how an essential piece of business and overall career it's going to be in the future. So,
Yeah. I mean, we've seen already, right? Like we even saw the few months after ChatGPT release, we saw businesses totally change their models
yeah,
because I mean, all of a sudden AI can write you an email. The next thing you know, people aren't spending hours at their desk on emails. They're only spending 10 minutes. And
yeah,
now we're living this age of AI agents where it's like, I don't even have to do anything. I can prompt Claude and say, hey, go ahead and do this. And it'll do it for me. And that type of AI literacy is, I think, what also a lot of people need, because I think people are nothing short of fearful about AI.
yeah,
They all think it's
100%.
going to take all the opportunities away or something like that. But if you know how to use it,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the
I mean,
all the
someone
value.
told me this. I don't remember who, so I'm not making up this quote, but uh, it goes on the lines of, AI isn't going to take the jobs of people. It's going to take the jobs of people who don't know how to use AI. I think that's super important because using AI can only make things more efficient, right? It's not going to hurt.
Mhm.
And so I think it's going to be super important in the future.
Interesting. And I remember you mentioned to me you're in private equity and you just had your first shadow day.
Yeah.
Can you explain what a shadow day is? And can you explain to me your private equity internship?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think I'll talk about the internship first, but uh, uh, Woodvale is a very closely related company of mine that I've known for a while, and when I got the internship there as a high schooler, it really opened my eyes, and I kind of just fell in love with private equity. And a part of me, getting to kind of experience that at a firm of this caliber, I was like, every student should be able to experience this. It shouldn't just be the students who have the connections and who have the ins and whatever. It should be the students who are genuinely curious, because those are the kids who end up, really having the motivation to do things. And a shadow day essentially, and I can break it down, is it's a full day immersive experience inside of a company, right? So it's 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and we're partnering with these companies and we're putting together an itinerary that's not only building their skill set, building their experience, but also building their network. And that's honestly the most important aspect. So, tomorrow we have our second shadow day, and it's the art of capitalizing a deal. Right. First day was anatomy of a deal, and now we're going to talk about the capitalizing aspect. Right. So the Woodvale deal team is going to walk it through, and they're going to be like, "Hey, we're doing a $200 million deal. Right? How do you get the $200 million from? How does that work? How do you get that money?" And they're pretty much going to talk about how you get that money, whether it's loans, equity, financing, whatever it may be. And, going off the experience of our first Saturday, I mean, these kids left and they're like, this was the best internship opportunity I've ever had. And I know so much more about the field. And honestly, above nothing else, man, I think like these opportunities are super important, even for just trying to figure out what you want to end up doing, because these kids are about to apply to college and they do the NetworkPro Saturday at Woodvale, for example, and they're like, hey, I actually love private equity and I love finance and I love real estate. You know what? I want to do a real estate finance major in college. Right. And so if nothing else, it's opening up their eyes to see the broader possibilities of what they could, partake in the future.
I love that, man, because there's an actual reason behind it. Like there's a purpose between like I like how you've been able to connect it. You're still going after your internship at the private equity,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
found it something to help people get these internships in the first place because you see
Mhm.
the value in it. And I
Yeah.
think we don't,
Absolutely.
and I don't see a lot of AI founders do that, or I don't see a lot of founders say like, I had a personal reason. A lot of it is just, oh, I wanted the cash, but you
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
reason. And I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
But speaking of the cash, you're the CFO of NeuroCore. So you're running three things at once. You're the
Yeah.
CEO and founder of NetworkPro. You're in an internship at this private equity. What is NeuroCore and how
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
you
Great,
manage?
great question. So NeuroCore is a company I started with three of my friends. And we started it particularly to apply to competitions, but now it's become a real business, right? To name a few, we've gotten selected for Georgia Tech's Create X program. We've won Georgia State's competition, we got second place in University of Iowa, and we actually quite recently won. We're selected as one of the top 5 winners for MIT's AI for a Better World competition. And so we're attending MIT's conference in Cambridge, Massachusetts later this summer. And honestly, NeuroCore has been an amazing experience. I think, as I'm building the NetworkPro team and with NeuroCore as well, like being able to work on a team with like-minded founders and like-minded people around you, it really motivates you to do better. Like I say this all the time, like my NeuroCore fellow founders make me feel dumb, but in a good way. And I think that's the best environment to be surrounded by, is you're surrounded by people who are a lot smarter than you, I think. And that's really one of the great things about NeuroCore is we're building something. It's for reference, it's a AI powered rehabilitation device for people suffering from core stability issues, right? So cerebral palsy, Parkinson's disease, or overall like sports rehabilitation, right? And it's honestly been an amazing experience, and I'm really looking forward to see what we can do with it in the future. So
I'm glad, man, because that's like so sports. I've heard a lot of people trying to like. I've heard like a lot of things about sports rehabilitation because like that is such a niche industry in one way, but it's also like the most one that people need the most.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
dude, I know people who have torn their ACL trying to play pickleball, and
yeah,
it's like if they stretched or if they did something, then that wouldn't have happened. But now you built something to help them recover from that massive injury.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
And it's
no,
sorry,
you're
Rob.
saying?
It's been a great journey, and from someone who like doesn't, I guess, understand the technical side as well, but is able to really go heavy on the finance and commercialization side. It's been amazing to kind of learn about like how we're doing this now. We're using AI specifically to implement this, and it's just like it's been a cool journey just to see how we can really create a successful AI business, but also really have an impact on people's lives in a positive way, hopefully. So
Interesting. So because you're in private equity and AI at the same time, or you're using AI, how big, because obviously I think you're in private equity, so you must be knowledgeable in like what's going on in the space. How much of an influence do you think private equity has had total in the AI space?
I think it's had a really big influence. Like as you know, my internship's sort of like part-time at this point. I'm not really doing it anymore. But I like to stop by and partner with them with NetworkPro if I can. But I think it's had a bit. I say this all the time. Private equity, in my opinion, is one of the most diverse fields in finance, right? Because essentially all private equity is, man, is you're taking money, right? You're taking a substantial amount of capital and you're saying, hey, I'm going to pour this capital into whatever this is or this, right? There's so many different types of private equity. There's private equity, commercial real estate, private equity, healthcare, private equity, AI, private equity, venture capital, right? It can be anything you want. Anything that you can invest in can be private equity, right? And so as far as AI, I think it goes to the question of, how successful is AI going to be? How necessary it's going to be? And as we talked about, it's going to be super necessary. It's going to be one of the biggest parts of business, right? And so in that sense, I think private equity will have a substantial effect on AI because it's going to capitalize and it's going to create opportunity through that capital for companies like, OpenAI is having its IPO soon, right? Private equity is a huge backing of that IPO, right? And so I honestly think when AI needs capital, they go to private equity, and that's the pivotal role it's going to play.
So it's like the backbone of all of like a lot of the backing for these big companies.
Exactly, it's the backbone, and it's essential to businesses, and it's honestly kind of the underrated part of business. It's because people often focus on, what business are we doing? What product are we making? Right. But they forget what money are we using to do this. Right. And honestly, like people can have different opinions, but without money, you can't start a business.
No, you can't.
It's
a fact.
Yeah. Literally. It's really an essential part. So
exactly. So what drives you to do 3 things like this at once? Because you're in tech, you're also in health, you're also in finance at the same time. What drove you? What was a moment in like your earlier years of high school or maybe even in middle school that said like, yeah, this is what I want to do, or I want to lock in so hard on this?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think it's really just fulfillment. Like, as I like to tell people, NetworkPro is like my main company that I'm working on, and honestly, just stands from something I've experienced real time, right? Like, for example, NeuroCore, one of our founders, his uncle has cerebral palsy, and that was kind of the reasoning why we started this company, right? It's because we don't want people to have to struggle through the same struggles that his uncle struggled through, right? NetworkPro stemmed from my own struggle of finding internships, right? And I realized that there was a gap in the market, and even finance, right? The deals that Woodvale is doing and the deals that other PE firms are doing in finance, it can be very meaningful. You can be creating opportunity for people. You can be creating resources for people. And so I think it all stems from fulfillment, to be honest, being able to not only, hopefully create a successful business, but be able to make an impact with that business and actually help people. I think the best businesses in the world provide substantial value for other people, right? And I think the more value that you offer in your business to the consumer, to the people you're selling to, the more profitable you're going to end up being. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So obviously you're doing those 2 companies. You're the CFO of, what was it again? NeuroCore. And then you're the CEO of founder of NetworkPro. Where do you see these 2 companies in, let's say, 5 years time?
Yeah. Great question. So NeuroCore is interesting because we're still in the kind of like development stage of it all. So NeuroCore, honestly, we're in a lot of different startup incubation programs right now, and I'm really excited to see where that takes us. And honestly, with health products, it's a little difficult, and it's kind of out of my knowledge base because as you know, health products take a lot of time for regulation and getting approved and stuff like that. But honestly, for NeuroCore, I can say this. I think, we're moving at a pace that's very, very good for where we want to be. And in 5 years, I see us being on the market. Hopefully, I see us being able to sell our products out there. But yeah, that's the goal. And then for NetworkPro, I really see so much potential, because, career exposure is a big problem, especially for high schoolers. And when you're filling that gap, you're filling it for the student specifically, right? You're offering value, right? If I say to a student right now, I'm going to offer you a shadow day at a $500 million company, and you can go talk to the vice president of investments who've closed $300 million in transaction volume, and you're 16 years old. He's going to be like, oh, like, hell yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so in the future, I see that NetworkPro is going to offer substantial more value for not only the student, but also for the company. And, as we expand and partner with more companies and more institutions, I see NetworkPro being a very big part of how high schoolers find career exposure, and even how students and college students find opportunities in general.
I love it, man. And you're a rising senior, correct?
We're rising senior. Yeah.
Rising senior. So I am too. So we're both looking down the barrel of college apps and like all this other things. And I totally see this being one of the biggest assets in helping people either get into a good college or get a good job. And it's like what you've created now is such in a unique product or in a unique service that like genuinely serves people our age. And I have not seen that. So like, I'm just so glad someone's actually taking it into their hands and saying, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to leave you alone. You're going to get some help in this, because obviously we all have LinkedIn. We can all do connections, but LinkedIn is so saturated sometimes that people who our age honestly don't get noticed.
Less than 20%. I don't quote me on this, but I believe it's less than 20% of high schoolers are on LinkedIn. So
yikes.
Yeah.
And that number should be way higher.
Yeah, it should be. It should be.
But yeah, I mean, seriously. But all right, man, we're getting close on time. I'm going to do a rapid fire section with you. Couple of questions back to back. You ready?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Claude or ChatGPT?
I think it depends, because Claude is amazing for reasoning and thinking. Claude has no image generator essentially, or
True.
It's not that great. I think Chat's new image generator is phenomenal. And so I think the combination of using Chat for image generation and templates and that stuff, and then using Claude for deep thinking and reasoning, is honestly the perfect combo. I mean, I have Claude code open on my computer right now, and I'm just going back and forth from Claude and Chat, right? I actually have Claude write the prompts for Chat, and then Chat generate the images and templates. And then they I think both are a great tool to kind of use back and forth. But
that's the method a lot of I see vibe coders doing a lot. Like they have like, and I did this too when I was building our website. I wasn't using Claude though at this time. This was when like before the hype. So I was using Gemini and I was prompting like one of the vibe coding apps, and like, bro, the LLM to LLM model is an untapped method.
Yes, dude, prompt, have the AI prompt the AI. Like that is the best thing to do. Like it's just so efficient, and you're saving so much time.
I should write that on the whiteboard, bro. That should be like a quote to live by.
Out of everything, that's the best rule, in my opinion. But yeah.
Nice. Well, all right. Do you like to work from an office, or do you like to work anywhere in the world?
That's a great question. I like working other places, but I love working in an office, because I think when I'm surrounded by people that, are doing the same work that I'm doing and are motivated, it makes me more fulfilled. It makes me want to do more work, to be honest. Like I'm working from the Woodville offices today, and I 100% would not have gotten even half the work I got done if I was at home. So
that's social pressure.
In the office. Yeah, it's great.
That social pressure is like such a crazy method for studying or like working.
Yeah, it does magic. It's crazy.
Do you like to wake up to an alarm, or do you like to wake up like anytime?
I would like to wake up anytime, but unfortunately I have to wake up with an alarm. Otherwise I just won't wake up till the afternoon. But yeah, no, alarm's the way to go for sure.
Interesting. When you're working on something, do you like to hammer that task out until it's done, or do you like to take breaks in segments?
It honestly depends on the task. With my schoolwork, I can most definitely say that I like to procrastinate and break it down.
Oh yeah.
With my startup stuff, I kind of just like to hash it out and get it over with. Because I find that, and this is one thing I want to talk about a little bit as well, but, not to hate on school, but school teaches things in a very linear fashion, right? You're going to do this assignment, then this quiz, and this test, and this exam. Entrepreneurship in general is very simultaneous, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not like, hey, I'm going to do this pitch deck first and hey, I'm going to build a website. It's like, no, you're building the pitch deck, the website, the partnerships, everything all at the same time, right? And so with entrepreneurs, I've realized like the more kind of stressed and cluttered I am, the more productive I actually am because I'm getting
Exactly.
more workload done and I'm actually more productive, surprisingly. So yeah.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced because at one point, even when I was working on like even on my company,
Yeah.
it was like I'm working on the marketing, I'm working on the finances. So I've like in one tab, you know how you can group tabs?
Yeah.
Like in one thing I have the finances, in one thing I have the marketing, in one thing I have the sales, and then in one thing I have all my vibe coding apps. And I'm like, in my head, when I leave my computer, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then I go back on my computer and I'm like, okay, this is this. Like
Exactly.
it makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what happens.
The mind is so weird sometimes, especially when it's like a personal, like I need to do this. This is something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, it truly is. And it's like, it's crazy how much you can do when you're actually passionate about something. It doesn't feel like work, to be honest, so it's great.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
But all right, the last and most important question of them all: cereal before the milk or milk before the cereal?
Cereal before milk, bro. Like that's an obvious question.
Thank God. Thank God. I'm not interviewing a psychopath right now.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get anyone to say milk before cereal. I'd be very surprised.
You'd be surprised, actually. One person I interviewed said that they used to do it as a kid.
Really?
Even as a kid, I was like, dude, you need to like. It needs to have some. The milk needs to have some flavor.
Yeah,
You can't just leave it alone.
I can't relate to that. That's weird,
But yeah, seriously, man. But all right, bro. It was honestly incredible talking to you today.
Yeah.
Learning all about like in the essence of private equity, in other sorts of finance, and how you're working on an AI startup and school and everything like that, bro. Like I feel like I learned a lot genuinely just talking to you today.
I learned a lot from you, man. So thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Nah, of course, man. We'll drop all the links in the description. Everyone go check out his startups. Go check out his startups and the NeuroPro. And everyone, have a great day. Rohaan, it was great talking to you.
You're having me, man. Yeah.
All right.